friends. Well, as you can see, I am not, well, first of all, welcome to A Hopeful Hollar Makes podcast, a podcast all about the fiber arts, knitting, spinning, sometimes weaving, oftentimes cross stitch, deep thoughts, and blue October. So, welcome to my echoey living room, front room. You may hear a little rustling about. I may end up having to go and start this whole thing all over again. We'll have to see. My sweet Sayde girl. You want to see a behind the scenes setup here? Like what's really going on? This is the hot mess we got going on here. Bicycles. Yeah, we're all fancy around here. So, anywho, welcome to A Hopeful Hollar Makes podcast. Especially to those friends who message me on Instagram and text me and just share an encouraging word. It's been a practice that I believe in. When I see somebody doing something that I want to support, I try to remember how important those little words of encouragement are, because you just never know. So thank you, friends, for coming back. Let's get on with the show, shall we? So when we last met, I was working on these. So I'm just going to start off with a big bang. And I think they are not just a big bang. I think they are a huge bang. Oh. So these are by Mustache Yarns. And the heels are in Yarn Carnival, I believe Raven. And aren't those just so fun? So these will be for a lovely young lady who is a young woman that I care a lot about. So that's who those are for. And I worked on those while I was at camp in Iowa, which I already spoke a little bit about. And I also worked on them while my husband and I were in Oregon at Crater Lake. So if y'all have not been to Crater Lake in Oregon, I hope you can go. I hope you can go. So as a little girl, some of you may know, I lived there when I was 6 years old in Oregon, not Crater Lake, although that would be pretty amazing, I think. I lived in Oregon, and I heard about strange things always happening at Crater Lake, and I had heard that a big meteorite, 6 years old, meteorite, a big rock, big rock, fell and created this crater, and then it became a lake. So, what I found out by being an adult and going to Crater Lake, I'm sure I could have YouTubed, but we did our anniversary big, and we took a big hiking trip to Crater Lake, and we learned all kinds of cool things about it. Hi, sweet Sadie. And one of which was that it was a volcano that erupted, and then it just sunk down on itself. And then there was this big hole. Excuse me, that is my spinning sister. Okay, well, I will just take that as evidence that I should show our friends my spinning. Oops. Because y'all know, spinning's just not quite as impressive for whatever reason to show on Instagram, so I haven't been showing much of it. But this is some of what I worked on while we were in Crater Lake. We're not gonna bite on that. Excuse me. Thank y'all for sticking around. Here, lay down. Okay. Lay down. Good girl. Good girl. I'm back. So, as I was saying, Crater Lake is known for its beautiful, pure, clean water. It is bluer than blue, as they kept saying over and over, which If you know me and you're not new around here, you know that I love the band Blue October, and blue is a theme around here. So anyway, it was kind of funny, and I highly recommend that you go. It is beautiful, and it was just, it filled up my heart and made me ready and inspired to come back and to share my video podcast with y'all and to share what's on my heart and what I've been making. So thank you again for coming back. If you're new, welcome. Long intro, but I did show the socks. And then these are another pair of completed socks, and they are mine. They are from moi, and they are from the Brazen Stitcher. And this was a sock blank. I think I showed it at the very beginning. And I've described before what a sock blank is. And if you're looking for more information about that, feel free to Google. They're so cool. I've considered dyeing some, and then I see how much work goes into each one of those. She likes her squeaky toy. Excuse us. So again, with much appreciation, I thank you, Brazen Stitcher, for your talents, for your time, and for your abilities in what you do, because I have these awesome soft socks all ready for the fall, and I adore them. Aren't they cozy looking? So those are for me. So that's 2 complete pair of socks. Oh, I didn't bring my work in progress. I may have to just take a picture and put it on Instagram. And another sock head hat. So this is glorious. I think I may have described it a little. Hey, come here. Come here. A little bit before. There is. She is normally very quiet. That's why I considered doing this. I did. That's your toy. It is yarn by Suburban Stitcher. We're gonna try and keep going. And it is on the River's Edge colorway. It's the mohair and fingering weight yarn put together. And so this is the hat that I completed also while we were in Crater Lake, which made it super fun and cozy. I have a top knot going on here, and sunglasses. You know, why not just try all the crazy all at once with the sunglasses on there and everything. So I've got to be getting ready for the approaching fall, because as you can imagine, my girl needs long, long walks, and I need to keep my head and my ears warm. So I've been working on things to do just that, and mitts as well. That's what I'm gonna be actually doing with all of that hand spun yarn. And so I'm so distracted, but I'm trying to stay focused. Another thing that I've been working on, achieving. She stole the hat. Come here. Come here. All right, let's see if I put her in my lap. Let's see what then. So we've had our nap today, and you wouldn't believe it, but I also left. Come here, sweet. Oh, goodness. Want to say hi to everybody? Say hi, everybody. Say, I'm getting so big. Oh, yeah. Have y'all ever seen Something About Mary? If you haven't, I highly recommend it. It is hilarious. So this is Sayde Grace, and I recently found out that she is a pit bull. I knew that part. Whippet. I didn't know that part. Oh, she likes the camera. Oh, or she likes the gentleman working on our neighbor's air conditioner. We'll see. We'll see. But she's staying quiet, so we'll just leave her as she is. So for those of you who don't know, whippets are extremely fast. It was my understanding, like they're not quite cheetah speed, but they are up there. They came from greyhounds originally. Interestingly enough, I heard on the interwebs, I'd have to do more research to know if it's factual, but I certainly like the idea of it, that they were given to peasants in the 1700s. Not just any peasants, but textile peasants for hunting. And I just think that that's pretty appropriate, considering she's an extremely sweet dog, as y'all can tell, and I am training her to be a therapy dog for those who may be new around here. So anyhow, this is my Sayde Grace. And I've had a few friends ask me, what did I do with her while I was on that lovely long vacation? And I have a dear friend that lives here in Fort Worth, and she also adores dogs and was more than happy to not just puppy sit, but also take her out on walks and have a good time with her. And yeah, and she told a really funny story about how Sayde found someone that she just would not take her eyes off, like she just had to go and be with this person. And then my friend Earl looked down at this person's legs and realized that they had leg tattoos. And so she figured that that was probably why Sayde was so interested in this person. She thought her mama was back. So I thought that was super sweet. And let's see, deep thoughts. I wonder, can I get into deep thoughts with a puppy in my lap? I think so. I think it actually helps. So my husband and I, as I was saying on my Instagram, we celebrated early our 30th wedding anniversary. Now, our anniversary is officially on September 9th, but he is a CPA, and when we first got married, he actually wasn't a CPA. He was just right out of college and was studying for his CPA exam. And so little did we know how busy he would be in the fall as well as the spring. Those are high tax season times. Hey, you're being so good. Yeah, you're being so good. Hi. And so, anyhow, for us to be able to take an anniversary trip before the season got super busy again, we would need to do it in August, which actually happens to work out quite well if you live here in Texas, where it's 105 degrees. So we got to escape the heat for a little while, and that was lovely. So I shared on Instagram how I've been reflecting about some of the decisions that my husband and I have both made along the way for 30 years. Oftentimes people ask, they don't say, how old were you when you got married? But it is very recognizable that I got married very young. I was 18 years old, and we met when I was just barely 17. And he is 6.5 years older than I am. And I had made a decision, oh goodness, I had several years of exploring being a teenage girl. We'll just leave it at that. And I was not ready for any kind of a serious commitment, or certainly not marriage, when we met. And after just a few months, we actually started talking about getting married. And my parents divorced when I was almost 14. And that was something that was really hard for me at that time. And so I wanted my forever to be forever. And little did I know, how involved that would be and how much commitment from both parts that would be. Again, at 17 years old, I knew some things and so many more things I didn't know, kind of like today. But one thing I knew for sure was I just wanted to do what I could to have the healthiest marriage I could, however I saw that fit. So trial and error along the way. One of the biggest and best decisions that I ever made, and I can't speak for my husband, but I know he would agree. I just don't want to share his story in our story. For me, the biggest decision that I made was choosing my own recovery of my life. So coming to recognize that my past, things that I had been through, I had unconsciously allowed to dictate my thoughts and my feelings and my actions. And so I'm just going to use an example from one thing that I can think of right off the bat, and that was just being a very snarky young wife and condescending. And I'm not talking about 100% of the time, but just in my own conscience, I finally came to that point when I had my own reckoning with my Creator and my own recognizing that I can only change myself situation. One of those things was paying attention to my words, paying attention to my attitudes, and how I treated others, and specifically my husband. And I'm certainly not perfect. I didn't become perfect at that point, but I'm trying to say I became aware. I became aware of how important my words were and how helpful or hurtful that my words could be. So this was, again, I was 26 years old, and it was right after I had hit my own personal rock bottom. And so for me, what that was, like I said, is just looking at my life. And even though that someone could possibly think that might be a really scary thing, it was a hard time. And I think we all need to know. I needed to hear it then, so that's why I'm here now saying it. To anyone who may need to hear it, hard times do come, and we can do hard things. So that's one of the little mantras that my husband and I had while we were hiking was when it would get really hard when we were in Crater Lake, I would say, we can do hard things. We can do hard things. And so that's kind of one of my life mottos is, we can do hard things. And hopefully with the best attitude I can muster. So where was I going with that? The decision to choose my words wisely. There's a proverb that says, a foolish woman tears down her own house with her own hands. It's a paraphrase. And it was one that I took to heart, and one that I still take to heart. And many times I have to go back to my husband, and because of my own conscience, not even because of anything that he said, but unfortunately, sometimes things come out and they don't come out the way I would consciously say them or really mean them. And so I go back and I apologize, and he's very gracious to forgive me. And we talk about these things, and we talk about really hard things. And maybe they're not hard things for everybody, but there are certain topics that I'm very open about. Like, I know anybody in the world could watch this YouTube, and I don't feel like I'm oversharing. I feel like it's something that I've worked through as far as I have peace. I know that that's just, it's a human thing. We'll see how she does without being on any kind of a leash. So anyway, I may end up just cutting this short because I think she wants to eat all the knitted things. So Blue October. I think I'm going to leave you with the song Blue Skies, and we're kind of going back in time. Let me try and grab her one more time, and then we're going to head out a little early. But I figured imperfect was better than nothing at all. So here we are. Hi, baby. You're such a good girl. Yeah. Something about Mary. So Blue Skies is a song that we listened to while we were in Oregon and having a good time. And it's such a fun song. And it's very encouraging and very uplifting and super fun and very sweet. And I think it was just very fitting for my last 2 weeks. Things are not always fun. They are not always perfect. And they are not always going to go our way. But we get to choose our attitude and we get to choose our meaning with how we handle those situations. So over and over and over and over, my husband and I, at this point, have made the choice and the willingness to work out our difficult times. And for that, I am very grateful because I feel like it's made me a stronger woman. And I am certainly not here to say that I'm better than anybody else who, for whatever reason, hasn't made it to 30 years. And I know very well that it takes two to be willing to do that work. And thankfully, my husband is willing to do that work. And I have nothing else to say except I think we need to go play with the ball for a while. So anyway, I will point out those two little angels right there. I made those for my mom back in the 90s. And well, I made one for my mom and one for me. And when my mom passed, I got her angel. And so I have both of those back there in my front room here. So I had to point those out before I forgot. And I hope that y'all are having a great August here in Texas. As I said, it's hot, but that for me just means that October will be here all the sooner, and it'll be nice and crispy, and I'll be able to wear my hand knits with great comfort. So anyway, see y'all on Instagram. Again, if anybody has any questions or comments, please, okay, ow! Here's something real quick I'll share. I know I keep saying I'm gonna go, but my family is known for notorious long goodbyes. She was biting my arm rather hard because she's wanting to play. And I learned on, I think it was Caesar, the dog whisperer, that if you make that noise, or maybe it was somebody else, if you make that noise, it teaches them to be more gentle. And she actually completely stopped, which is very good. Good girl. She's a very sweet girl. So anyway, have a wonderful next 2 weeks, and I'll see y'all again soon. Bye.